Hi class, how are you today? Well, that's not a very linear way of thinking. Well, neither is this. The learning target for today is to be able to graph quadratic functions in standard form and identify key features of the graph. For the scale, you're a 3 if you can graph quadratic functions and identify key features of the graph. You're a 2 if you can graph quadratic functions. You're a 1 if you can identify key features of the graph of a quadratic function. And you're a 0 if you cannot graph quadratic functions or identify their key features. All right, let's get started. All right, so we have two equations here. We have y equals x squared plus 4x minus 3, and we have y equals ax squared plus bx plus c. So the second one, y equals ax squared plus bx plus c, this is what we call standard form. This is the generic version of what you see on the left. So in standard form, we have the first term, which is ax squared. That's known as the quadratic term. We have bx, which is known as the linear term. And we have c, which is known as the constant term. That's the term that's at the end by itself, no variables around it. We call it constant because it doesn't change. No matter what the variables are, the c doesn't change. It's constant. All right, so now we're going to use the standard form to identify key features of the graph. So first we're going to figure out what a, b, and c are in this function. A, you'll notice there's no number in front of the x squared. What do we say when there's no number in front of the x squared? 1. 1 is in front of the x squared because there's nothing there. So there's just 1 x squared. For b, it's 4. For x, it's 4. For c, it's -3. It's the number by itself. All right, so the first key feature that we're going to find is the axis of symmetry. All right, so the formula for the axis of symmetry, also known as the AOS, axis of symmetry, is x equals -b over 2a. All right, so our formula is going to be x equals -4 over 2 times 1, which will be -4 over 2, which equals -2. So that gives us that the equation is x equals -2. Now, we need to find the vertex. So remember that the x-coordinate of the vertex is the same as the axis of symmetry. So in this case, the x-coordinate is going to be -2. The y-coordinate we need to find. So now we're going to plug in the x into our y equals x squared plus 4x minus 3 equation and find out what the y-coordinate of the vertex is. So we have y equals -2 squared plus 4x, so 4 times -2, minus 3. So that gives us y equals -2 squared, which is 4. So remember, you're squaring a negative, so that makes it positive. minus 8, because 4 times negative 2 gives you negative 8, so minus 8, and then minus 3 comes on the end. So y equals 4 minus 8 will give us negative 4, and then minus 3 will give us negative 7. So that makes our vertex negative 2, negative 7. So now we need to find the y-intercept. Remember, the y-intercept is when x equals 0. So when x equals 0, that gets rid of the x squared and the 4x. That will just leave you with the last term, the constant term, which is negative 3. So the y-intercept is the point 0, negative 3. So now we're going to take the vertex and the y-intercept and use them to graph the quadratic function. Okay, so we have our equation, y equals x squared plus 4x minus 3. And we have our two most important points, our vertex and our y-intercept. The vertex is negative 2, negative 7, and the y-intercept is 0, negative 3. So now we need to find another point. We need a third point, and it can be pretty much any point, but the best point you want to use is between your two x coordinates. So you've got 0 and negative 2. So the number that's between 0 and negative 2 is negative 1. So we pick it that way it doesn't go way off the graph. The y coordinates will end up being between negative 7 and negative 3. So now we're going to take this negative 1 and we're going to plug it back into our original equation to find the y. Just like we did with the vertex x coordinate, we're going to do the same thing for this point's x coordinate. So we say y equals negative 1 squared plus 4 times negative 1 minus 3. So we get y equals negative 1 squared is 1. Again, remember, you're squaring a negative, so that makes it positive. Plus 4 times negative 1, so minus 4, and then minus 3. So y equals 1 minus 4 is negative 3, and negative 3 minus 3 is negative 6. So our new point is the point negative 1, negative 6. Alright, so now we're going to plot these 3 points. We'll start with the vertex, which is negative 2, negative 7. So to the left 2, down 7. And then we'll make our axis of symmetry. Remember, it's x equals negative 2, so it's a vertical line pretty much at the vertex going up and down. So it's x equals negative 2, so that vertical line goes all the way through the graph. Then we're going to graph our y-intercept, which is the point 0, negative 3. So we'll plot that right on the y-axis, so 0, negative 3. That's the blue point there. And then our pink point will be negative 1, negative 6. To the left 1, down 6. And now the interesting thing about the axis of symmetry and quadratic functions is the axis of symmetry is right in the middle. It splits it in half, and so what's on the right is a mirror image of what's on the left. So we can take our 2 points on the right and mirror them on the left. You'll notice the pink point is 1 unit away from the axis of symmetry, so its mirror image will be 1 unit to the left of the axis of symmetry. So if the pink point's 1 unit on the right, its mirror image will be 1 unit on the left. Same thing with the blue point. The y-intercept, it's 2 units away from the line, from the axis of symmetry on the right, so it will be 2 units on the left. So it's a mirror image. And then we take these 5 points, because you need 5 points to make a quadratic function, and we make our graph. As good as you can with whatever drawing ability you have. Mine is not great, but do your best. But you make your parabola, and that is the goal of this lesson, to be able to draw a quadratic function, to graph a quadratic function, to draw a parabola. Alright, now time for the sponge activity. I want you to graph this quadratic function. Y equals x squared plus 6x minus 1. So just like I did in the video, find the key features, the axis of symmetry, the vertex, and the y-intercept, and then find another point and use that to graph your quadratic function. Alright, that's it for this lesson. As per usual, please make sure to take notes on the entire lesson. Take a picture of everything, submit it all to Google Classroom, and have a good night.